welcome back to the channel. And before I get into this video, remember to like, comment and subscribe. And as always guys, turn the bell notifications on so you can stay up to date on all our latest videos. And everything you see on this video guys is not financial advice. Please make sure to always do your own research. Now with that being said, I'll be answering some of the questions that were asked on my previous video in the comment section. Now for this example, we're going to be using Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a great example to explain what we're about to do next. So the first question was, what is the best average amount to start with? Now the truth is guys, there is no right or wrong answer. This is basically very subjective to the individual. Ideally, it should only be with what you can afford. If you can't afford to lose $1,000, you should not be investing $1,000 in the cryptocurrency market. And to be honest with you, my rule is, never take out loans to invest. I think that's the worst possible thing ever. I would personally never ever do that. And the reason why, firstly, let me start off with the reason why I personally would never do that. It's because, let's say you took out a loan, or let's say someone took out a loan to buy Bitcoin in 2018. So they took out a loan of, let's say, $10,000 to buy Bitcoin in 2018, and they bought. This is what would have happened, guys. They would have been down almost 80 or over 80% on that investment, and that's over the course of not 1 year, not just 2 years, but 3 years, guys. Well, 2.5 basically, but you get my point. Even here, when price pulled back, we can call it 3 years. I mean, that person is not going to be able to sleep at night. And if you can't function, if you can't focus, you're never going to make good decisions, right? So the likelihood is this person is definitely going to have cashed out. And if they didn't cash out there, they definitely would have cashed out in 2019 when they didn't see anything. Or they may have even cashed out in March of last year when price did pull back. So that's why personally I never do that, and never want to get into the habit of doing that, because you can't time the market. You don't know when this bull run is going to happen, and the idea is you want to be comfortable, you want to be able to sleep at night, etc. And number two, the reason why I personally would never invest money I can't afford to lose is because, same scenario, if you only have $10,000 in your savings account and you put that whole 10,000 in Bitcoin, same scenario, you're down 80% on your savings. The average person would not be able to stomach that, and thus cashing out, losing over 50% of their savings. And again, if they had the patience, of course, they would have reaped the rewards of this. But the point is, they're not going to be able to mentally sustain that kind of drawdown, especially when it's money you cannot afford to lose. Now, here's the difference. Let's say someone invests exactly what they can afford to lose. They're comfortable with how much they put in the market. Their whole mindset is going to be different. They're going to be able to withstand these drawdowns because they're in their mind, they're like, they're in it for the long term. And even if they never had a long-term mentality, they would say, yeah, it was only this much amount, I'll leave it in there, see what happens. Why? Because they're comfortable. There's this comfortability aspect. Because it's money they can afford to lose, they're not going to be so uptight, they're not going to be panicking, they're going to be able to sleep at night, which means they can actually take advantage of other opportunities, whether that's buying more, whether that's investing in other cryptocurrency projects, whether that's moving to stocks. They'll be so malleable and flexible in their approach to investing, whereas the other guy or girl is not going to be able to do that. Why? Because they're under stress, they have pressure, they have anxiety, which means they can't function as well as these guys that have invested how much they can afford to lose. And what that means is they can actually take advantage of the overall long-term swing. Me personally, this is an over 10-year plus project. I'm not planning to sell any of my cryptocurrency. The best that I do is trade. So let's say I have some cryptocurrency that's not performing as well as I hoped, or I just believe the capital or can be allocated best in another project, then I just swap the project over. Or when I do hit a massive milestone, I could celebrate by maybe cashing in a nice 20% dividend or so. But that's just my approach. Again, this is very subjective, not financial advice. do what makes you happy and you're comfortable with. So that answers that question. How much should you start with? You start with however much you're comfortable with. This is up to you, what you can afford to lose and what you're happy with. Number two, is it best to day trade or hold? Now, again, this is very subjective. Why? Because if you can't day trade and you don't have any experience with day trading, why are you day trading in the market? It's illogical, guys. You're going to be set up to fail if you have this approach. You're doing something that you have no competitive advantage on. You don't know what you're doing, and thus, when you get a small pullback in the market, like we did yesterday, what happens? You take a loss when you didn't need to. You know. So this is why I'm saying when you have to play to your strengths in this. Now, with that being said, like myself and other people that may be watching this, if you have more of a technical background, you have experience in the stock market, foreign exchange market, and you've been in this for years, I'm talking over, years, and you have a lot of experience, then of course that could be a good avenue for you. Why? Because to an extent, you know what you're doing, you understand the risks, you understand, what the potential gains are, you can do your risk to reward analysis, and then you can do what you do best and trade effectively. So it's very subjective. If you don't know what you're doing, probably not a good idea. If you do know what you're doing, then you get the best of both worlds. And with that being said, make sure you check out our VLC network community because you can learn all of this. I'll be happy to teach you guys that. Now, holding, I believe, is a great strategy, for the long term. And why? Going back all the way back 10 years ago with Bitcoin. Look at this. When price was below $1, when price was below $100. Imagine if the people that are just holding, just held, never touched it, and it's allowing this to compound. They're multi-millionaires and billionaires, guys. This is the power of compounding. This is the power of holding. This is the power of really understanding the industry you're in and making the most of the overall growth of that industry. And that's why I like the best of both worlds. The whole day trading crypto thing is, it's to be honest, I see it as quite pointless. For example, let's say you buy Bitcoin at $41,000, you sell at $48,000, and then where do you buy again? The average person has no idea when to buy. So what happens is it can pull all the way back. They've lost their gains and now they're discouraged. They don't want to do it anymore and they miss out on the overall gains. Next thing you know, this is up over 100K and it's the same old story. Oh, I once bought Bitcoin when it was at $600, but I sold. I made a 200% gain. That's great, but think about what you could have made if you just had the patience to hold and, play this out. So let's conclude, guys. To wrap things up, what's the best to start with? This is subjective. Ideally, you want to trade with what you can afford. And number two, what is the best to do, day trading or hold? Well, it's not really either or either. The best is to do both, but if you don't have experience in day trading, then it makes no sense because you don't have that competitive advantage, which means you're set up to lose. So again, with that being said, guys, hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because we've got some big videos on the way. Make sure you watch our most recent videos because that's going to walk you through the process and show you a bit about our background and how we've been predicting these moves so far. And as always, guys, seize